Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. It sounds amazing, and it's going to happen this coming Saturday. I am getting excited. I know you never really know until they're in the ring, but I don't know. I'm allowing myself to get excited for this. I cannot wait for this fight. I'm looking forward to it. It's really hitting home now that we are less than a week away from having an undisputed heavyweight champion, unless it's a draw. I really hope it isn't. I really, truly hope we don't get a draw. I hope we get an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Let's go over this fight. Let's talk about the tale of the tape. And let's break this fight down and give a prediction on this fight. So, let's start with the unified heavyweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk. Brings to the ring a record of 21 wins out of 21 fights with no losses and no draws. 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He has a 66% KO ratio. So out of the 21 fights, 66% have not seen the final bell. He is 37 years old. He comes from Ukraine. He stands 6'3" tall with a 78-inch reach. He fights out of the southpaw stance. Tyson Fury, he brings to the ring a record of 34 wins out of 35 fights with one draw and no losses, 24 wins by knockout, which brings him to a 70% KO ratio. He is the slightly younger man at 35 years old. He'll be 36 now in August. But going to this fight, he is the younger man by just over a year. He stands 6'9" tall. Now, some people do dispute that height, and they say it's probably closer to 6'8", 6'7". Certainly does look that when you see him stand next to the likes of someone like a Vladimir Klitschko or Deontay Wilder, who are around about the same size, 6'6", 6'7". But he does bring an 85-inch reach, which is significantly longer than Usyk's 78-inch reach. It is roughly 7 inches that Tyson Fury has in reach. He is the taller man. He is going to be on fight night the much, much bigger man. His weights have been pretty much since 2020 have kind of gone in between the 260s to the 270s. His last fight, he was 277 pounds. Since he's fought Deontay Wilder in the rematch, which was in February 2020, the lightest he's weighed has been against Dillian Whyte, which was 264 pounds. So we're not going to expect Tyson Fury to be much lighter. He's going to be in around that weight, you would imagine. Whereas Oleksandr Usyk, his last fight, he was 221 pounds. He was the same against Joshua in all the fights. In fact, actually, he hasn't weighed less than 221 pounds since 2020. He was 217 against Eric Chisora. If you see his weight since he built the heavyweight, he's gone up ever so slightly. 215 against Witherspoon, 217 against Chisora, and his last three fights he's been exactly 221 pounds. You would imagine that trend is going to stay the same going into this fight with Tyson Fury. He certainly doesn't look any bigger. He looks the same as always. So you would imagine that Fury could have as much as a 40 to 50 pound weight advantage. Will he use that? That is the question. It's one thing to have a weight advantage. There are a lot of fighters who can have a weight advantage, but is it actually helpful to them or is it a hindrance to them? If you're fighting someone and the weight difference is only maybe about 7-8 pounds, maybe having that extra 7-8 pounds will help. But if you are, we'll say, 50 pounds heavier and your opponent is in shape, he's quick, he's agile, he can move, having that extra weight, is that actually going to help you? That is the big question. This fight, to me, even now when I'm doing this video, there's still a lot of things going on in my head about this fight, how I think it will unfold. I've watched Oleksandr Usyk's previous couple of fights. I've watched Tyson Fury's previous couple of fights. And listen, to be honest with you, it goes without saying, who has looked the more impressive in their last couple of performances? Oh, it's Oleksandr Usyk. It's simple as that. You look at his first fight with Joshua, he looked sublime. He still looked good in the rematch. And prior to what a lot of people would say, I actually felt he did look very good against Daniel Dubois. He definitely did. I think that a lot of people hyper-focus on that fight when they look to critique Oleksandr Usyk. I thought he looked fine against Dubois. Contrast that to Tyson Fury. Okay, his last three fights. Now, against Dillian Whyte, he looked fine. There was a few moments in there where you were kind of like, the output is slowing down a little bit. He doesn't have the same speed, because if you go back and look at his fights against the likes of Deontay Wilder, the rematch, and even Otto Wallin, who was the most similar, and Otto Wallin, as I've said, is Oleksandr Usyk if you got him off wish, and that's being generous. But you can see that the speed is not quite where it was back then for Tyson Fury. He's definitely slowed down. Against Chisora, a washed, completely over the hill Derek Chisora, who arguably lost his next fight against Gerald Washington, again, who's no great shakes. Yeah, he was in control. Yeah, he bossed the fight. But Chisora, even with feet as slow as his, was still able to get in early on Tyson Fury and land shots, which is a bit of a worry because certainly if you had Tyson Fury, who even was safe for Otto Wallin, and you gave him that Chisora, that wouldn't have happened, in my opinion. And obviously against Francis Ngannou, he looked, you go back and look at that fight, and I've seen it a few times, and Fury, yes, he won it, and I'm not disputing the win. He definitely won the fight. I feel as though he nicked it by a couple of rounds, but god damn did he look poor in that fight. God, I know at the end of the day it's better to win ugly than not win at all. But god damn, he looked poor. I mean, we won't get that Tyson Fury, I don't believe. But if we got that Tyson Fury on Saturday night, it's a case of when, not if, Usyk stops him. Really, that's what's going to happen. It's a case of when, not if, because that Fury looked horrendous. He looked absolutely horrendous. So, going by their form, both have won their respective last 3 fights, but Oleksandr Usyk has looked a lot more impressive. He's looked a lot closer to his prime than Tyson Fury certainly has. Can that be rectified? Can you fix that with a good camp? A prolonged camp, because it's been prolonged pretty much since the end of last year. A prolonged camp, can you rectify it? Or has the damage been done? Has the damage been done by the hard living? Has the damage been done by the fluctuation in weight? Has the damage been done by hard fights? There's no real way to undo that. You can have a good camp and you can look better than you did in your previous fight, but again, you're going in there against a world level operator who, you look at Oleksandr Usyk, he is definitely slowed down a little bit. He's certainly not in his prime anymore, but I think even though he is the older man, he's still closer to it than Tyson Fury because he's just lived a life. You've never seen Usyk out of shape. He plays football when he's not boxing. He's always exercising. He never comes into camp needing to lose weight. It's always, boom, on point. That will give you longevity. Even if you are the older man, that will give you longevity that living a hard life won't. And you can get away with it a bit more heavyweight because you're not having to make weight, but it will eventually catch up with you. When I look at both guys objectively, and I see it there, Fury has a lot of strengths, a lot of advantages on Oleksandr Usyk. And that's why it's such a hard fight for me to actually look at and say, I think this guy wins or I think that guy wins. Because a lot of people the Fury fans will just say Fury wins because he's the greatest, blah, 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 yeah, brilliant, good to know. But then a lot of I don't want to call them Usyk fans, I think just fans in general who are just kind of sick of Fury's antics coming into this fight will pick Oleksandr Usyk to win easy because they don't like Tyson Fury, they don't like the antics leading up to the fight, all the shenanigans, pullouts, and, go back to April last year, he wants 70-30, he wants this, the goalpost being moved, like Boris Johnson moved the goalpost at one point for the UK. So they don't like that, and I can't blame them, but don't let that take away from the talent Tyson Fury has. That's why I say, don't pick with your heart. Don't go in and say, like, I want Usyk to win because of this, so that's why I'm picking him. You have to look at it as objective as you can. And for me, when I look at this fight, it's competitive. It's very competitive. Tyson Fury, I wonder. I think he's going to come out early and he's going to look to move. But I don't think Tyson Fury has the legs for that anymore. I think that he might have the legs for a couple of rounds. And once he starts to tire, and the thing is, you look there on screen, that's him against Steve Cunningham. And Steve Cunningham is similar dimensions to Usyk. He's a little bit lighter, but Usyk is just an overall better fighter. He tried the long-range boxing against Cunningham, didn't work because you're dealing with someone who is very coordinated, who is very fast. He can get under the shots and he can get in using his feet to get in and land shots on you. Kind of negates the reach. Fury ultimately had to get the earmuffs on, as Teddy Atlas said, charge forward, use his strength, use his aggression, and basically get the better, basically outman Steve Cunningham, for want of a better word. I think that he's going to try early on to box Oleksandr Usyk at long range, but Oleksandr Usyk is such a good boxer, even at long range. If you go and look at the first fight with Anthony Joshua, he took Joshua's jab away within the first 10 seconds. He was able to actually get Joshua on the back foot. He was able to land left hand. He was able to get his jab established. He was actually looking to pick holes in Joshua's defense from the opening bell. And if you actually go look at the Ottavalian fight, he's able to actually get that left hand working very early on. Fury doesn't seem to do well against the southpaw. His punch output drops, and the southpaws, for some reason, they seem to be able to have a knack to land that left hand on Tyson Fury from early on. Ottavalian was able to do it, and as I've said, he is a Oleksandr Usyk if you got him off wish. That's being generous. He was able to do that early on, which ultimately led to him cutting Tyson Fury. Now, the reason why this fight was pushed back from February to now is because, guess what? A cut happened to Tyson Fury in camp. And if you look on screen, that is the cut that he sustained in camp. Combine that with the cut he had against Ottavalian, there has got to be scar tissue there. And Oleksandr Usyk is a very, very smart man. He's a very, very smart fighter. His team are very, very smart. They will know that they have that to target going into this fight, because you got to bear in mind, February was not that long ago. February was only a couple of months ago. Has that cut fully healed? I don't think it has. And I think that whenever you're dealing with residual damage, like scar tissue, something like that, it's going to open. A few gashes, a few shots, like a knife goes through butter, just a little, it's opened. And if it does, that could change the whole trajectory of this fight. Because Team Fury could have a game plan that is solely based on them not getting cut. If you get that cut, you'll often hear fighters will say that when they get a cut, even though it shouldn't affect them, even if it's not going into the eye, it affects them. You know, mentally, it's taking something away, because they're thinking about that. They're thinking, oh, this cut, how does it look? What's the doctor going to say? It affects their energy as well. So if that does happen, that could change Tyson Fury's whole game plan. And it could change the whole trajectory of this fight. And Usyk will, best believe he'll be targeting that cut. He'd be mad not to. But he'd be also wise to not hyper-focus on the cut. Because it's like Tyson Fury saying, you know, body. Frank Warren saying, Usyk with the body, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, don't hyper-focus on that. There's other things as well. Because he's able to basically defend his body quite well after Dubois hit him with that shot in the 5th round. Dubois never came close to landing it again. So if he knows you're going to be targeting that body, he's going to make a good job defending it. Don't hyper focus on it. The same way with Oleksandr Usyk, don't hyper focus on the cut. Now Usyk, as I've said, he has a tendency to land that left hand very well, and he doesn't just land it to the head, he also throws it very well to the body. A lot of the times you'll see that his opponents, like Anthony Joshua, they're wary of that left hand coming to the head. They're wary, they're thinking about it. Usyk knows, so he just throws those right jabs out, boom, launches it to the body. And they will hurt. They will take the wind out of your sails. And if Fury's legs, if you're already questioning his legs and does he have the mobility in them anymore, taking Usyk left hands over and over to the body. And if I was Oleksandr Usyk in his team, I'd be saying throw that left hand to the chest, even anything to just get Fury off balance. Even the image of Fury moving back, because sometimes when he's fighting the southpaw, he can look a bit awkward moving back. If you're just hitting him and getting him off balance, that's just one, they're scoring shots, and the judges are going to see that. They're going to be like, oh, he's saying him off balance. Ottavalian was able to do that early on in that fight. And Fury had to change his whole game plan up. It didn't help that he was cut, but he still had to change his whole game plan up, because he was like, this guy's reading me. One shot that Ottavalian actually got in his arsenal as that fight went on was he added the right hook. Usyk's right hook is actually quite good as well. And if Usyk is struggling to land that left hand, the right hook is going to be there for him, I believe. Now with Tyson Fury, judging by how Frank Warren has been talking, saying Usyk can play this, that and the other, I do wonder, are they going to look to employ some illegal tactics? Maybe not illegal tactics, but roughhouse tactics. Clinching, looking to smother Oleksandr Usyk up close, land short shots, maybe hold and get a shot in there. Something like that, which you really shouldn't be allowed to do. But I wonder, are they looking to do that? Because Fury will be wise to try and fight this fight on the front foot. You try and jab his way in on the front foot and try his best to land short shots. The uppercut, I think, is the punch that's going to be there for Tyson Fury. Whether he uses it or not is another story. He has used it to good effect against the likes of Dillian Whyte. It's going to be there for him against Oleksandr Usyk. I think he needs to use it. I actually think he needs to use it from early on. He needs to use that jab for nothing other than to blind Oleksandr Usyk. Double up on it, triple up on it if you need to, and lead in with that uppercut. Take a little half step in, up with the uppercut, because Usyk will have the earmuffs on. From the southpaw stance, a right uppercut thrown from the orthodox stance is a very effective shot, especially if you set it up right with a jab, which I think Fury will be well advised to do. Set that shot up with the jab. Look to land on Usyk's body, because Usyk's legs, his fitness is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And a lot of fighters, they don't target the body enough. Usyk's very good at defending it, to be fair, but he's going to want to try his best to get in there and land some of those shots, get in close and land uppercuts, stuff that Joshua talked about doing but he ultimately didn't do in either fight. Fury, I think, will. Fury will. He's a fighter when his back's against the wall, he comes out swinging. His back will be against the wall at times in this fight, and I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Oleksandr Usyk certainly hurting Tyson Fury. I don't know if he'd necessarily drop him, but he may give Tyson Fury moments like he did against Joshua where you're like, oh, is he hurt? Is he? And it'd be noticeable. It won't be a case of, you'll notice it. So Fury, it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that. I don't expect either guy to touch down in this fight, to be honest with you. I'd be very surprised if we see a stoppage. The only kind of way I could envision a stoppage, to be honest with you, is if Oleksandr Usyk is able to get to the cut and it's actually deep and the doctors do decide, look, we can't carry this on, we'll wave it off. That's the only way, that's the only scenario in which I can envision a stoppage. I really can't. I can't see either guy getting the better of the other and stopping them. I can't. I think we're looking at a distance fight. Now, here's the thing. I worry about the officiating in this fight. If they're looking to do a Joshua fight next or down the road for Tyson Fury, that's a bit of a worry. The rematch does give you a little bit more confidence that it'll be legit. I think it will be legit. And I got to give a pick. Before I give a pick, I'll just do a quick kind of little keys to how I think both guys will do it. I think with Usyk, left hand to head and body, left hand to Fury's chest when he's moving back, right hook. Tyson Fury, jab, double up, triple up on it, and sneak an uppercut in there. Try and attack Usyk's body as best you can, and Usyk try and attack Tyson Fury's head. I think it's going to come down to attrition in this fight. It could come down to a war of attrition and who has more left in the tank. And you see where I'm going with this. My pick for this fight, and it's a pick I don't make with a great degree of certainty, because I look at both fighters and I think both fighters are tremendously talented. They're both 1 and 2 in the division, whatever order you have them in, go for it. If you have Tyson 1, go for it. If you have Usyk 1, go for it. It's a tough one. I don't say it with a great degree of confidence, but my pick for this fight is on an 8-4, maybe even a 5-7, legit 5-7, unanimous points decision win for Oleksandr Usyk. I say that with no great degree of certainty, because I do know how talented Fury is, and when everything aligns, realistically, and I'll say this now, and I don't care what anyone says, if we were talking about Tyson Fury of 2020 against the Oleksandr Usyk who fought Anthony Joshua in the first fight, I'd pick Tyson Fury to win. I'd be picking him to win. I would. If it was the Fury who fought Wilder in the rematch, I'd pick him to beat Oleksandr Usyk. I would. And I think that at their best, peak for peak, Fury beats Usyk. Peak for peak. We don't have a peak Fury anymore. We don't have a peak Usyk either. But I think now it's shifted to such an extent that I think Usyk is the man. He's going to win this fight. He is going to win this fight, I believe. But I don't say it with a great degree of certainty. I really don't. The more I look at this fight and the more I think about it, and the fights I've watched from both guys respectively, I'm like, this is going to be a tricky one. And I do think it is going to be a tricky one, but my pick is Oleksandr Usyk to win this fight on points. Probably unanimous, maybe majority, maybe split, but I do think Oleksandr Usyk is going to win this fight. And that is my pick for Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. Lads, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And for now, lads and lassies, I will leave it there. Peace.